Hey friends, we are looking at the Tiger I World War II tank made by Masterbrixx, or also known as IMEX Model Company. I want to thank IMEX for sending this to me to build and review. This is IMX 38501 with 685 pieces. And what we're seeing here is the German tank known as the Tiger I. In this video, we're going to look at the box. We'll look at what we can discern about what you're going to get. We'll look at the parts. We'll see if there's anything unusual about them, if they're Lego compatible. We'll take a peek at the instructions also. And then in a separate video, I will review the finished model, and be sure to subscribe, please. You'll be the first to know when the full review is up. Okay, so what are we looking at? This is a Lego compatible size tank, and it is the most famous German tank from World War II, and it has, you know, your basic treads, and I want to say it's an 84 millimeter gun. If I'm wrong, I'll put it in the corner. And there are some unique things going on with this particular model, and we'll look at that. And you can probably see right off the bat that is a unique part to this model. The decorations you're seeing here are stickers. I don't believe there's any printed parts with this one. And then on the back of the model, we have another couple of good images here of the rear. This is just a different look where the gun is pointed up and away, and then some side views, so dead on front, completely side, and then the back right there. Sorry about all the glare in the middle of the day when we're recording here. Okay, and then the parts, they are all in these bags. They are not numbered, so you're going to be asked to open all of them up at the same time. The parts are Lego compatible, and I did not see too many or any unique parts. They have their own way of doing certain things, like that anti-stud there. That's something I saw on the IMEX model for the USS Arizona. You'll find some parts that are just handled in their own unique way. And then there are some parts that are altogether new. So this one right here almost looks like a little button. That is unusual. And you'll see there on the back, it just has an anti-stud. So there are a couple of unusual parts in here. And then there is this large sprue of weapons. And so you just kind of twist those off of there, and you can then use them inside the model and put them in the tank. And I've seen this with, not just with IMEX, but other brands where they are building tanks and they're used to creating for the enthusiast very accurate models. And so one way that they create that accuracy is to make custom molded parts for certain key elements like the machine guns. I saw that on I want to say Nephilia's tank as well, where there were certain things that were just on sprues, and that's how they handled it. And that's probably acceptable because that's the market for tanks. It's folks that are used to potentially building plastic model kits. They want that extra bit of detail, but they don't maybe want the headache of a plastic model kit, which it can be. I see in here that there is a card with a bunch of string. I did not see where the string goes, so that's interesting. I didn't see that in the instructions. And then here is the sticker sheet. So you can see they're kind of clear backed. I don't know if this is a dual transfer. Hopefully they're not. I'm not a big fan of the dual transfer style stickers, but there's a sticker sheet in there. The other thing I want to mention is the colors. The colors here, it's a dark gray, but it feels like they're slightly darker than what we're used to from Lego. There's something slightly darker. So here's an actual Lego dark gray, and it is a little bit darker, the IMEX one, slightly darker. And I thought, well, maybe it's just because it's old gray, but it's not. This is the old gray, and it's definitely a different shade. The old gray, I want to say, is more reddish, and then the new gray is a little more blue. So It's a little bit different, but it probably is more accurate to the color of the tank. And I wouldn't know for sure. I'd have to, before I do the full review, I'll try to find color photographs of the tank to see if there is a difference. Okay, so now let's take a look at the instructions. Okay, so this booklet is staple bound, glossy, and it just jumps in. And they did this on the Arizona too, where it was this sort of like calendar style. On the Arizona, which is a lot of longer building, I thought it was a good way to handle it. I'm not sure about for the tank. I think I maybe would have preferred a different style, because what ends up happening is you're going to be on this step right here, and you have to have the whole thing open, or you have to start folding them over like this, and so it can become a problem. But one of the things I noticed, I don't know if Lego does this, but check this out. It tells you the tips and what these icons mean when you see them in the steps. But look at this. It says turn the whole model up and down versus turning the model side to side. So I hadn't seen that before. I did not. I don't know if Lego does that. If you know, leave that in the comment. And it has a legend here for the colors. So this is the light gray versus dark gray versus black versus clear. So if you're looking at a part in here, that's how you'll know. And I guess there's no white, which would have been very confusing compared to the clear. So I don't think there is any white in this model at all. The other thing that they do is, for some of the parts when they're going in, I noticed there's no help whatsoever. So they sort of point to where those parts are going, but they don't outline the new parts. And with something where there's so much gray, there's so much building of things that look the same, that could become problematic or more challenging. But then on some of the steps, they do have a red outline for the new parts that you're adding in there. So I'm thankful that on some of them they do add that guidance lines, and and then they'll go right back to not doing it. So I'm not sure the thinking behind adding it on some but not others. Maybe they realized in some areas it was a lot more tricky, and so they had to have the red. But yeah, and then the turret is built up pretty well, and I noticed they're using a new part here on the very end. And we'll look at that part at the end of the book, but I tried to find that part in the part bags and could not find it. So I'm not sure what that where it is, and so we'll find out. And here are the sprue and the special pieces. So it looks like they're all these are all guns, and it looks like we're only using 3 out of the 8 or 9 items that are on that sprue, at least in this step. And I don't think we're using them elsewhere either. So it might just be kind of a universal sprue set that is used in multiple models for them. And then here's where we're using the strings. So the strings are getting wound around, looks like the perimeter of the turret. So maybe that is meant to be like a cable or something of some sort. So I'll have to look into that before the review. And you see it's pretty well built up. The turret gets really thick at the end there. And then I saw this. So this here seems to indicate that the studs can shoot out of the tip. And I thought maybe it was like a stud shooter with its own like lever where you press something and then it kind of levers it out, dislodges it with velocity, and then the stud goes shooting off. But I don't know if that's what's actually happened. So that's happening. So that's why I looked for the part, and I am not sure what's happening there or why it says shooting there. So maybe what they mean is, hey, put a stud on here. Oh, you know what? Okay, here's my theory. Because this arrow goes out and in, maybe you pull it out and you put the stud on it. Then if you were to take the whole thing and push it into the turret, it ejects the stud. So I think that's what's going on there, and that's how they're handling the shooting. Okay, and then here's the back. But there you go. That is the unboxing. The review is coming soon, and we'll be able to answer some of these mysteries. We'll kind of get a better look at it. But yes, please like the video. If you like, subscribe. You'll be the first to know when this model is done and we're able to review it. But thanks so much for watching. Appreciate it.